Retell AI is changing everything about AI voice agents. The whole idea of worrying whether an AI can sound human is basically gone. The real question now is how far you can actually take it. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how to do that. How to prompt an agent so it behaves the way you want, how to use tools to book appointments, transfer calls, and take real actions. The best settings to make it sound natural, how to test everything for free, and how to push it live with a real phone number people can actually call. If you don't know me, my name's Anthony Shush. I'm new to YouTube, but I've been deep in the AI voice agent space for the last 6 months building my AI business, SimpleShift. I'm a retail enterprise client, and these settings we're about to go over are ones their team has personally shared with me over our weekly calls. If you follow these steps properly, you'll end up with such an advanced AI voice agent that it sells itself the second you demo it in front of a client. Now, let's get into Retell AI. So here we are on the Retell AI dashboard. Supercharge your call operations with voice AI agents. Here they list some partners. We have a section where we can actually plug in our phone number and receive a call from a Retell agent. We can pick what kind of agent we want to talk to here, and then just some more details on how they work. Going over to pricing, they have a pay-as-you-go plan. It's $0 to start, meaning you can make an account, build an AI voice agent, and even test it for free. Their pricing starts at 7 cents per minute. So every minute that somebody's on the phone with one of your AI voice agents, it's going to be costing you 7 cents. However, Retell does offer $10 worth of free credits. So if you do the math, that's 142 minutes, which is enough to essentially get your AI business off the ground if this is where you're going to start. If you're already up and running, you can contact sales here, get in touch with them, and kind of set up more of an enterprise plan. If you are newer, just go ahead and make an account. Once your account is made, you're going to be brought to the Retell main dashboard. Here on the left-hand side, we have a bunch of different sections: the build section, the deploy section, the monitor section, and the system section. The agent section is where you're going to be building your agents. The knowledge base section is where you can add a bunch of different knowledge bases that you will be attaching to your agents during the actual build. The phone number section is where you can actually buy phone numbers and attach them to agents. The batch call section is where you can actually create a batch call and send outbound calls. So this is for lead generation. If you want to make up to thousands of outbound calls, that is possible with Retell AI. You're just going to enter a name here. You're going to enter from where you want the calls to say they came from, and then you can upload a list of recipients. So this is where you're going to put your lead list that obviously has to have phone numbers inside of it. The Retell AI agent will then call those numbers. You can send now or schedule the calls for a later period. And you can set a concurrency. Concurrent calls is how many calls is happening at one given moment. This is set at 5 by default, meaning Retell is saying that your AI voice agent will make 5 phone calls at once maximum. It'll send out 5 calls. When one call ends, now 4 calls are active. So Retell will make another call. Now 5 will be active. So on and so forth until the amount of calls that you're sending, the amount of leads you have uploaded, are all hit. Exiting batch calls, we have a call history section. I'm gonna have this entire section blurred out because there is proprietary information in here about my business that I can't share. Below call history, we have chat history. This is where you're going to see what messages are being sent back and forth. Below chat history is analytics. Now this is mostly a test account, but on this test account, we've done 528 calls. The average call duration is 45 seconds. And then we have the latency. This is how long the AI takes to answer the phone. You can see your call count in a more comprehensive way here. Here we have concurrency used, which is just showing you how many phone calls you're making at a time. And then the rest of these settings are kind of basic. You have stuff like call success, disconnection reason, user sentiment. So the AI actually determines the user's attitude throughout the phone call. So it will let the business know if, hey, this caller was unsatisfied or if they were satisfied. There also is a neutral. We're not going to go through all of these. What's important to know here is that if the business you're building an AI voice agent for is interested in their analytics, this is how you're going to send the analytics over to them. You're going to come up here to the filter, and you're going to filter it by agent, and it'll give you the call analytics for just that agent. In other words, just that business. You can then screenshot this information and send it over to the business. Now, one thing that some AI voice agent agencies do, they'll make each business their own Retell account. So they'll go into a Retell account, brand new, made for the business, maybe even using the business's email, etc. and then they'll set up one agent for that business, and they'll give that business the password to the actual account. They'll show them where the analytics are, and they'll tell them, whenever you want to see analytics, whenever you want to see call history, whenever you want to see any information, just go into your Retell account and check them out. This is definitely a good practice, and it is scalable because it's not like you're paying Retell subscription fees per account. Every account is free. So it's actually a good way to organize things. One Retell account per business, give the business access to the account so they can actually go in and see everything. Under analytics, we have the system. So we have billing, how much you're being charged, and then we have basic settings. Here we have concurrent call limits. So Retell by default lets you make 20 phone calls at a time. The last three sections, API keys, webhooks, and workspace, you're almost never going to touch. Now, when it comes to actually creating an agent, for this video, I have a master agent set up. It's a universal, fully optimized agent. To create the agent, I actually came into the top right corner. I hit voice agent, and I selected single prompt and blank. That is a setup you should almost always be doing, with the exception of if you're making an outbound agent. I would still recommend single prompt agent for outbound calls. But if you're really trying to extract certain information from a call, you might want to do conversational flow agent. So real quick, for these four sections, single prompt agent is when you're creating one prompt for your agent to follow throughout the call. A conversation flow agent is where you're going to be creating different nodes that attach to each other that ultimately creates a path that the AI will be following throughout the phone call. Multi-prompt agent, very similar to single prompt agent. This is having the AI voice agent follow a bunch of different prompts as opposed to just one. Single prompt agent can do everything that a multi-prompt agent can do. It just gets a little more confusing with multi-prompt agent. And then custom LLM, almost nobody uses. This is when you're actually going to be coding the backend and you just want to use Retell for their transcription and then their text-to-speech. With these three options, you have templates that you can choose from for all of them, but I always start from blank because I think it's the best practice. But if you want a little more guidelines, you can choose one of the templates. So now we're inside of the agent dashboard. We have three main sections. On the left-hand side is the prompting section. In the middle is the functions, tool calls, as well as the knowledge base and settings section. And on the right-hand side is purely testing. At the top, we have the name of the agent. I normally just name it the name of the business that I'm creating the agent for. Under that, we have the agent's ID, the LLM ID, and then we also have the pricing. So this AI voice agent is costing me 12 cents per minute, 12 cents every minute somebody is on the phone with it. We have our latency, how long it takes to respond after the caller says something, and then our token usage. Below that, we have the LLM section where we can pick what LLM we want. They have ChatGPT models, they have Claude models, they have Gemini models. I've tested a fair amount of them, and I've come to the conclusion that GPT 4.1 is the best. Retell AI themselves recommends GPT 4.1, but if you have an easier use case, so to speak, like you don't have so much in your prompt, you can use GPT 4.1 mini or nano just to save some costs. As you can see, each model has costs associated to it. So GPT 4.1 is costing us 4.5 cents per minute, but something like GPT 4.1 nano costs less than half of a cent per minute. So big price difference there. Heading out of the LLM, we also have settings. We can adjust the temperature. What the temperature actually means is the higher you place your temperature, the more random the LLM will be. I personally kind of configure my prompt to have the AI agent behave naturally anyway, so I just keep mine on 0. I wouldn't go past 0.5 though if you do want to raise the temperature. Heading over to the voice library, here we have a giant library where we have availability to select voices from 11 Labs, Cartesia, Minimax, and OpenAI themselves. We can filter everything here by picking gender, accent, types, etc. We use SEMO for the most part. Retell recommends SEMO as well. However, they do say cloning a voice can provide a very great natural audio. So if you want to clone a voice, you're going to hit the add custom voice. You're going to hit voice clone, and then what you're going to do is you're going to record some audio. So if you want to clone your own voice, record yourself speaking into your phone, throw the clips into here. They recommend about 5 minutes worth of audio time, worth of speaking time. Throw the 5 minutes worth of audio into here, and Retell will actually clone your voice. You'll name it, and then you can select that voice and use it as you please. However, in my opinion, Simo works great. It's a very natural sounding voice. If you just want to hear some of the other ones, you can easily just hit this play button.
I'm Grace, an AI voice agent for Retell AI. I offer professional support with a light friend.
This is your AI assistant from Retell. Always on, always ready to deliver consistent and professional support to every caller.
And you can kind of just pick which one you feel is best. Leaving the voice libraries, we also have a setting section for the voice library. Here we have what voice model we want to use. I've never seen anyone use anything except for 11 Labs Turbo V2. Under that, we have voice speed, voice temperature, voice volume. Speed and volume I don't touch. Your temperature will be default at 1. However, I have lowered mine to 0.8 because I'm using a female voice. Voice temperature, very similar to how an LLM temperature works. The larger the range of tone the AI voice agent will have. So if I put the temperature all the way up, then the tone can be really emotional or really subtle. It'll just be random. But the lower the temperature, the more monotone the voice will actually sound. I keep mine at 0.8 because the females tend to have naturally more emotion in their voice rather than the males. So I keep it at 0.8 to try and keep the tone a little more concise and streamlined and natural. If you want an easier way to think about it, the higher the voice temperature is, the more likely chance that the AI has a voice crack. Exiting out of the voice, on the right-hand side, we have the language selector. You can pretty much pick any language here. And how this works is kind of crazy. You can even pick a multilingual, which has like 50 voices supported. And how it works is, depending on what you select, if you select Spanish, then the AI will automatically speak Spanish. But if you select multilingual, then the AI will be constantly listening for other languages. Meaning if you call it and you start the conversation in English, and then midway you switch to Spanish without any warning, the AI will recognize that and respond in Spanish. Now you may be thinking, why don't I just always select multilingual? Well, you have to keep in mind, it's listening for 50 plus languages. It's going to add a little bit of latency, and it's going to be a little less accurate because it's keeping its ears open for so many more things. So if multilingual is not necessary, I don't recommend it. Really only go with it if you have to. As far as the rest of them goes, like I said, just pick one and it will speak that language natively. Exiting the top section, we now have the prompt section, the backbone of the entire voice agent. I always call it the backbone because it really is like the spine. Without a strong spine, you have a weak body. Prompts are really very simple and you don't need to complicate them. We're going to go over how I have this prompt configured. Not only has it been tested so much, but Retell has also confirmed the efficiency of it. First off, you should be putting your prompt in Markdown format. Markdown is its own language. Just like English is a language, just like in code, Python is a language, Markdown is a language. AIs read Markdown better than anything else. Markdown format states you have each section classified by a hashtag and a title. Each subsection is classified by 2 hashtags and a subtitle, and so on and so forth. Within each section, you have information concise and to the point, and in even some cases, you have things bulleted. For emphasis, we have asterisks at the end and at the beginning of important variables and statements. And lastly, we have reference to tool calls by typing something like invoke and then the name of the actual tool call. We'll be referencing tool calls a little bit during the actual analysis of this prompt, so I'll open them up. Up here, we have 3 end call, transfer call, and book appointment GCal. You'll be seeing that throughout this prompt. Looking at the overall sections within the prompt, we always have a role first. This is where you're defining, where you're telling the AI what it's doing in this situation. For the most part, it really should be the same across all AI voice agents. They're going to be booking and information assistance for then the name of the business. And you're going to give it a one-liner, something like you help customers schedule appointments, etc., etc. And then we have one line telling it to be calm, friendly, and most importantly, human. Under the roles section, we have a general rules section. So this is, I would say, the second most important section, if not the most important section. Here's where we hard code instructions that the AI needs to understand throughout the call. One more thing to remember while prompting is that your AI voice agent ingests this entire prompt, reads it over the second somebody calls it. So phone call is made, AI goes over the entire prompt, gets a feel for who it is, what it's doing, what its purpose is. Then it'll wait for input from the caller, and based on the input that it gets, it will again parse through the prompt and figure out how to best address the caller's concern, question, query, whatever it is. So general rules is where we're going to list all our commands. These are important aspects that the AI needs to remember throughout the phone call. So the first one that I always have in every AI voice agent is if the caller mentions an urgent concern, invoke transfer call. Remember, again, referencing a tool call we have up here. Now, let's say you're not using Retell and you're using something like Vappy, Synflow, or Bland. This still is the same process across all of the platforms. You have your prompt, and inside your prompt, you want to reference your tools or your functions. Moving on to the second rule. So Retell has variables. One of those variables is user number. I'll throw the variables on screen now. As we can see, each variable has 2 curly brackets at the beginning, 2 curly brackets at the end. Now you can put any of these variables within your prompt, and the AI will know what information you're trying to get based on what variable you insert inside the prompt. For example, we have user number. So Retell automatically pulls the caller's phone number at the beginning of every phone call. So when you put curly bracket, user underscore number, curly bracket, the AI will automatically pull the caller's phone number and use it in reference to how you have that command configured within your prompt. So in this case, we just have simply always use user number for the caller's phone number. So if anything comes up throughout the phone call regarding the caller's phone number, the AI, because of this command, will have it ready in its back pocket. The third command, again, we have another variable. This is current time America, New York. So we have use current time America, New York for all timing and day of the week logic. If someone asks something related to time, it is going to reference current time America, New York. You can add as many general rules as you want, customize them as you like. That's how I have some of my general rules configured. Those are the more basic ones for sure. Moving on to the knowledge base section. We're going to configure a knowledge base a little bit later in the video. In short terms, a knowledge base is just a cluster of information about a given business. For example, their hours, their services, their pricing, the payment methods they accept, etc. So we have a quick section right here that defines the knowledge base, and it states you have access to the businesses, and then we're listing the information. This is just general information that should be inside of the knowledge base that you're going to configure. The hours and address, list of services, pricing, payment methods, policies, so on and so forth. Very general and simple section. Now, coming into the appointment booking section. So if you're not creating an AI voice agent that is booking appointments, this specific section is irrelevant, but it is very relevant in the context that if you are setting up other tools, if you are collecting information at all, this is how you collect information properly. We'll use appointment booking as the example for this AI voice agent. So we have the appointment booking section, and then we have 2 hashtags and a subsection within the appointment booking section. By having 2 hashtags there, the AI knows this is a subsection and it belongs under the main section. First, we have a goal. So if you're creating a section and you have instructions that you want to give that are specific to that section alone, then you want to add a subsection goal as the first subsection, because the AI is going to read from top down. You want it to read the more universal commands and instructions, goals first, before it gets to anything else within that section. We have handle appointments like a human receptionist using the commands and instructions available. Only ask 1 question at a time. And if any information was provided, do not ask again. This is perfect. It really doesn't get much better than this. Again, tested hundreds of times. Quick note, if you want this exact prompt, I will be leaving it inside of my school group within the template vault. This is where I upload everything that I use in every video I create. So the general business prompt for this master agent is going to be right here. You can click on it, download it, and then you can customize it for any business you want by going into ChatGPT, pasting this prompt inside of ChatGPT, and say something like tailor this for RDM barbershop or Mr. White Dentist, etc. Under our goal section, we have a purpose subsection. So this is one of the fields that we are collecting for the book appointment function. So the other variables, the other fields we're collecting are name, number, specialist preference, date and time. 5 total variables. We have these in here as context for the business. AI reads from top to bottom, so it's going to first collect the purpose and work its way down. If you want things another way, then you can easily just move things around as you see fit, and it will, act accordingly. Once we have all 5 fields collected, we are telling the AI what to actually do with the information. So after the caller's info is collected, invoke the book appointment GCal tool to check the availability. As you can see, we have book appointment GCal as a function right here. If the selected time is unavailable, suggest the closest open times. And once a time is confirmed, invoke book appointment GCal. Again, we have referencing a tool call here. Why do we have this booking payload example and how did I create it? We'll take a look at this once we actually dive into the tool calls because it's directly referenced inside of the configuration of our tool call here. After the payload example, we have after booking, let the customer know that they're all set and their appointment at the business name is all booked for the date and time. This transfer section is also universal across all the AI voice agents I create. If the caller wants a live person or the assistant can't help, say one moment while I transfer you and invoke transfer call. Those are 2 hard codes within every voice agent that I create to reduce the most friction possible. If the caller wants a live person, transfer the phone call. If you can't help the caller, transfer the phone call. Those should be universal within every agent that you create. Under transfer section, we have multi-shot examples. This is the most optional section within this prompt. You're pretty much just providing common questions that it'll be asked, and you're giving a little bit of guidelines about how it should answer. However, even if you don't have this section in here, it should still know how to answer the questions. This is just kind of guiding the AI a little bit. And if, you're setting an AI voice agent up for a business and you ask them, this should always be a question that you ask. What are the 5 most common questions that you receive? If some questions are clearly asked over and over and over again, then yes, create a multi-shot example section, throw those example dialogues in there and guide the AI to answer those questions in the best way possible. Last but not least, we have the closing section. Again, universal across pretty much every AI voice agent that I create. We have it configured so that we have before ending the phone call, ask, is there anything else I can help you with today? Just like a regular front desk worker, receptionist asks you before the call ends, they're going to see if you need help with anything else. And if your answer is no, then thank you for calling, business name, have a great day. And then we have to invoke the end call tool function because you actually do need to have this configured in order for the AI to end calls. If I were to delete this, then our AI actually wouldn't be able to end calls. So definitely want to set that up. Moving on from the prompt, we have our welcome message section. A rather simple section, but definitely important. Your default setting is going to have the user speaking first. However, I always select for the AI to speak first, whether it's inbound or outbound. Doesn't make a difference. We want our AI saying the first line. Dynamic message will have the AI read the entire prompt and then say what it thinks is best as the first line. But a custom message is static. It will say this line every single time, no matter what. So we usually have something like, thank you for calling, business name. Sometimes we give the AI a name, sometimes we don't. In this case, we have, this is Kayla, how can I help you? Again, plug anything you want in this section, but I do recommend definitely doing AI speaks first and custom message. Last but not least, for this entire left-hand side, we have pause before speaking 1 second. So when a phone call is either made or received, the AI will wait 1 second before saying its first line. Now that we've configured the name of the agent, the LLM, the voice, the language, the prompt itself, as well as the welcome message, that's the entire left side taken care of. We can now move to the settings section, which is here in the middle. The first setting dropdown that we have is the function setting. This is where you're enabling your agent with capabilities such as calendar bookings, ending calls, transferring calls. Here I have the 3 most basic, yet most effective and most sought after functions or tools. The words are interchangeable, functions and tools, that there is. End call, transfer call, and book appointment. We have Gcal for Google Calendar, but you can make it whatever calendar you would like. Now, there's one main thing to understand about functions or tools. Every AI voice platform is going to have a section where you set them up, but really where the work is done is inside of the prompt. The AI voice agent follows your prompt throughout the entire phone call. So if you have tools or functions set up and you don't have them referenced in the prompt, the AI voice agent is never going to know when to call the tools, so it never will. Now, if we remember, inside of this prompt, we have a lot of sections where we have invoke and then we have the name of a tool. So here we have if stuck or request is outside capabilities, invoke, transfer call. These arrows and asterisks are kind of just aesthetic. I wouldn't really worry about them. I like to have them in there just for organization's sake, but you really don't have to. The AI voice agent will still call the tool as long as you have a scenario present and then you have the tool name. I like to use the word invoke because when you actually look into Retell's back end and you look through how a call went, it'll say invoked and then the name of the tool. So if Retell's back end is using invoke tool name in our prompt, in the front end, we're also going to use invoke and then tool name. We should remember that we want to make things as easy as possible for the AI voice agent. The easier we make things, the less latency the AI voice agent will have during the call. And as we know, to make a call as natural and human as possible, we want the AI to be answering as fast as possible. Now let's actually Command F and take a look at how many times I have referenced this tool call in our prompt transfer call. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. So we have 5 different scenarios in which we're telling the AI to call that tool. When one of those 5 scenarios happens, the AI will call the transfer call tool. Now let's look at how the transfer call tool is actually set up. So if we head into the settings right here, we have a name, we have a description, we have a transfer to phone number. So this is where we're going to be sending the actual call. This in most cases is just the business's phone number. We have warm transfer set up. We can display to the business either the Retell agent's number or the caller's number. And then for the warm transfer settings, we have the on-hold music that the caller will be hearing while the transfer is ringing is just a ringtone, but we can select relaxing sound, uplifting beats, or just regular ringtone. We have just some basic default settings here. And then we have a whisper message. By default, yours will be turned off. We have it turned on and we have say hello to the business and let them know who's calling and why. This is a great feature. It's very advanced. Most AI voice platforms don't offer it. What this is doing here is it's telling the AI voice agent when you're transferring a phone call, upon the business picking up the call, first AI come onto the line and tell the business who is calling and why. For example, once the business picks up, the agent will say something like, hey, I have John calling on the other line. He is wondering about a refund. I'm going to connect him now. And then it'll connect John straight to the line. This is great because it lets the business know who is calling and why. That's it for the transfer call settings. To actually add a function or a tool within Retell, you're going to hit the add button right here. You have a bunch of pre-built tools such as end call, transfer call, agent transfer. This is so that you can set up multiple agents and actually transfer calls between multiple agents throughout the call if necessary, but I've never needed it. Here we have check calendar availability for cal.com and book on the calendar for cal.com. So Retell has native integrations with cal.com, meaning you don't have to set up any API keys, any webhooks. All you have to do is select these. You're gonna have to put in your account ID and your event type ID, both of which you can get from cal.com settings. And once you have the actual function configured, you just have to prompt it when to call the given tool, and it will call it. Press digit. This is if you want the caller to use their keyboard during the phone call, which I've never used. Send SMS. Great feature. This is good for sending links, but you're going to have to actually pay Retell $20 a month for this function. To extract dynamic variable is a fancy word for information. So if you want to extract the caller's name and just send it somewhere, you would set up your webhook wherever you want the information sent. You would select extract dynamic variable within Retell, and then within the prompt, you would say, once the caller gives their name, call function tool, extract dynamic variable. Retell will then take that dynamic variable, so in the example case, the name, send it over, and it'll be caught wherever your webhook is. And then lastly, custom function. So this is where we set up a majority of our advanced functions. The book appointment GCal is actually a custom function. Once you click into it, this is what it looks like. Again, you have a name and description. That's going to be universal across any function. Then we have an API endpoint. So you need somewhere to be sending information. If you're using a platform like N8N or make.com, you're going to take your webhook from that platform and place it right in here. We also have headers and query parameters. You only have to fill these in if you're not using a platform like N8N and Make, but 99% of the time you are. But if you aren't, to set this up, you're just gonna hit add new key value pair. You're going to throw the key here, and you're going to throw the value here. You can get these from the documentation of whichever website that you're trying to connect to. And then for parameters is a very simple section. It took me a couple months to really nail the workings of it down. But once I learned, it's actually very simple and it's replicatable to process across any function, any workflow you're trying to complete, etc. Parameters or endpoints is information that you need to send over to another software in order for it to carry out the task that you want it to carry out. Within Retell, we have a form option and we have a JSON option. The form option is much simpler than the JSON option, but the JSON option can be simple. All you have to do is go into ChatGPT and tell it, hey, I'm creating a JSON schema. I need to plug into a custom function within Retell. These are the fields that I have. This is the information within the fields. If you guys remember from when we were talking about the prompt, we have a booking payload example here. The summary description, start time and end time, those are fields. And the name, purpose, preferred specialist number, and ISO 8601, that is what is inside of the fields. That's the description, the details, the variables, whatever you want to call it. Once you know what fields you want to include to actually send the information over, you're going to configure it right here in the parameters section. So like I said, either a JSON or a form. We have the summary, we have the name and purpose, we have the description, we have preferred specialist and number, we have start time, we have start of appointment, we have end time, end of appointment. Your parameter section within your custom function should mirror your booking payload example from your prompt. Always going to leave the type as string. And something I love to do, which will make things much simpler for you, is turning on payload args only. This is telling Retell AI, okay, these parameters are important. I want you to send them at the top of the payload. The payload is the block of information that you're sending. Once you have your webhook configured on your workflow platform, like N8N or Make, and you do a test call within Retell, it's going to send over a payload, which is just a bunch of information. When you turn payload args only, it's going to send these fields, the parameters, at the top of that payload. So it's much easier for you to find what you need and plug in the fields on the workflow platform without having to read through everything else that's in the payload. Moving on from parameters, we have speak after execution turned on. So this is pretty much just telling the AI, okay, once you call this tool, let the customer know. You can also do speak during execution. So if it's a longer request, you can turn that on and then actually enter a message. The message I always enter when I have this enabled is 1 moment. So the second the AI actually calls a tool at the beginning of the tool call, it's going to say 1 moment. And then if you also have speak after execution, when the tool call is finished, it's going to say, okay, and it's going to say I've completed whatever the task was. That's going to be it for custom functions. It's the same for any custom function that you create. That was just a booking Google Calendar example. As you can see, the setup is the same across all of them. Under functions, we have a knowledge base section. If you're unfamiliar, it's a foundation of information that you're giving the AI that you don't want to include in the prompt. So like, let's say you want the AI to know the business's hours, their services, what insurances they take. You don't want to clog the prompt up with that information. You want to create a nice, neat knowledge base, which you'll do by coming into the home screen, coming down to knowledge base, hitting add documents, and most of the time I just do add text. You can literally just type in here hours, Sunday, closed, Monday, 9 to 9. Fill it out based on the business's information. Once it's complete, come back over to agents, go into your agent, and just add the knowledge base. Under knowledge base, we have speech settings. So this is a very cool section. I've configured a decent amount here. So background sound by default will be off. I love adding background sound because what AI would have coffee shop noise in the back of it. So it makes it much more realistic. Again, one of the things Retell is doing to change the game. The settings button just lets you change how loud it is. I always keep it on default 1. Next, we have responsiveness. Your default will be at 1. If you're going for the most possible accuracy, you're gonna wanna lower it a little bit, but it's honestly perfectly fine leaving it at 1. Interruption sensitivity, by default, this will be also at 1. That makes it way too sensitive in my opinion. I think the best is somewhere from 0.5 to 0.75. At 1, any little background noise, the AI agent is going to stop dead in its tracks, which you obviously don't want. Back channeling is interesting. If you turn it on, then you can plug in some words here like uh-huh and yeah, or like okay, honestly, whatever you want to put. And what that's going to do is it's going to kind of just input these words randomly into the conversation. So for example, when the AI is listening to the caller, it'll say something like uh-huh or yeah, just again, to try and make it more realistic, but I don't find it necessary. Under that, we have enable speech normalization. We don't need to touch that. Reminder message frequency. Default's 10 seconds. 10 seconds is good for some agents. For others, I like to up it a little bit. So basically, this is how long the AI will allow silence. So let's say the caller doesn't say anything. After 10 seconds, the AI will be like, hey, are you there? If you up this to 20 seconds, then it'll wait 20 seconds before it says, hey, are you there? Pronunciation, this is a pretty advanced setting as well. If this is important if you're setting up an AI voice agent for something like a dental clinic or just a business that has some more hard to pronounce words that are prevalent throughout their phone calls. Moving on to real-time transcription settings, we have remove noise and remove noise plus background speech. The default's just remove noise. I like to add plus background speech. However, it will affect your accuracy a little bit. Transcription mode, the default is for speed. I think accuracy is more important than speed, so we have that. Vocabulary specialization, I've never touched it. You don't need to. Boosted keywords. This is just kind of putting words at like the top of the AI's mouth, so to speak, during the phone call. So if you're setting this up for like a burger joint, you'd have like burger and cheese and fries here. Whatever words you think are most common to occur during a phone call with this agent. Call settings, top half, you do not have to worry about. Bottom half is kind of important. So here we have end call and silence, max call duration, and ring duration. This is just a test agent. So I have everything kind of low. End call and silence, the default is 5 minutes, and honestly, I wouldn't put it any higher than that. This will end the call if there's more than 5 minutes of silence from the caller. Max call duration, this is just the maximum amount of time the AI can be on the call for one given phone call. So if a phone call hits 5 minutes in length, based on these settings, the phone call just drops right then and there. Most businesses, I have this at about 15 minutes. Others you can allow to go for up to an hour or 2 hours, really whatever you prefer, but just keep in mind your costs, right? You don't want somebody racking up the costs on a 1.5 hour phone call. Lastly, ring duration. This is how long the AI will attempt to transfer a phone call for. So it'll ring the business based on these settings for 30 seconds before it stops trying to transfer the call. And then under post-call data extraction. So by default, this will be empty. And what I have it doing here is collecting a call summary. If the call is successful, the user's phone number, the appointment booked, yes or no, the user's name, and a detailed call summary. Based on this configuration, the AI, after every phone call, will collect these variables and send it over to the webhook that you have right here. I like to have this data extraction in place because it just provides more information for the business to reference for every phone call. It's essentially organizing details of every call. To add one, you're going to hit the add button right here. You're most likely always going to select text unless it's a number or it's like a true false type of question. We can see that I have 3 texts set up, 2 Booleans and 1 number. Again, Boolean is just true or false. So for appointment booked, it's either true, they booked, false, they didn't. Call successful, the call was answered, or the call wasn't, true or false. To add any of them, just click on them, fill out the fields. It's very simple. For security and fallback settings, this is an interesting section that really nobody touches often. The only thing that you might want to be aware of in here is setting up personal info redaction. So let's say you are collecting credit cards over the phone, or you're setting up an agent for a med clinic and you need to be HIPAA compliant. You're going to want to set up personal info redaction. To set it up, you're going to hit setup and you're just going to select what information you want to exclude from the phone call. What this is doing is it's telling Retell, okay, during the phone call, if any of this information comes up, encrypt it. This will block Retell from logging that information anywhere, making you compliant. Once you have whatever you want encrypted, selected, then just select everything except PII, and it will store everything during the phone call except for what you have selected in your PII settings. One more thing we're going to touch in this section is the fallback voice ID. So this pretty much just states that if for some reason your AI voice stops working, if you add a fallback, then it'll resort to that voice. I've never had a situation where the voice has failed, so I really don't see it important. But if you want to add a fallback voice, you can just select one from the dropdown. Coming on to webhook settings, this is where you're going to enter a webhook. Now this is an agent level webhook. This is for the overall phone call, not for specific details. So when you're setting up something like booking appointments, logging CRM details, you're going to want to make a tool call, or in other words, a function, and you're going to attach the webhook inside of that function, not down here. This is strictly for the payloads that Retell creates during every phone call. Lastly, MCPs, you can attach things here like email or really any platform. You have to hit add and enter the name of the MCP as well as the URL. You're also going to need to configure authorization. Once that's set up, then the AI can do things such as reference Gmail during a phone call. I don't find it necessary, and I find that setting up even a custom function would be better than setting up MCPs. That is going to be it for the middle settings section. Again, all of these settings were personally shared to me from Retell's enterprise team during our weekly calls. Moving on to the last sort of pillar within each agent dashboard, the testing section. So what's great about this testing section is that it's completely free to use. Whether you want to test audio, you can hit test and you can talk to the AI voice agent through your computer. If you want to test by just texting it, you can select manual chat, and once you're inside manual chat, you can actually just type to the AI voice agent and it would respond just as if you were on a phone call. You can also do an AI simulated chat, which is a very cool feature that Retell has. Again, something that sets them apart. In the AI simulated chat, you have a prompt right here. You're basically prompting another AI voice agent to talk to your AI voice agent. You really can just change these like as it makes sense for your AI voice agent. So if you made an AI voice agent that is booking appointments, you can change your order number is to, I want to book an appointment for 2 p.m. And then for the goal, you change it to booking an appointment. And then once you hit test, it will literally pan out a conversation with your AI voice agent. You can see where things go right, and more importantly, where things go wrong. Now, testing is important because once you have the AI voice agent built, there's still going to be some things that you want to fine tune. So test it, find those errors, those gaps, those things you don't like, those areas of unnaturalness, and come back into the prompt and make changes. Another method for fine tuning your prompt is take your entire prompt, give it to ChatGPT, and then tell Chat, say, hey, this is the prompt for the AI voice agent that I built. I just did a test call. I don't like this. Hit enter, and ChatGPT will respond with its recommended changes. You can even tell it to rewrite the entire prompt for you, and then you can just paste what it gives you back into here, and then go back to the testing phase, start testing, find a problem, iron out that problem. Now, that's everything you need to know about the entire build of the AI voice agent, along with things like function calls and knowledge bases. Coming back outside of Retell, the last thing we're going to have to do is actually push it live with a real phone number people can call. To do that, you want to come over to the phone number section, hit the plus in the top, and you're almost always going to be hitting buy new number. Unless you have your own Twilio account, which 99% of people don't, you're going to be buying a number through Retell. They actually rent numbers through Twilio or Telnex themselves. They just have native integrations. You're buying the phone number on Retell, but then Retell's going to Twilio or Telnex, depending on what you select, and they're getting the number from them. So to actually get a phone number, all you have to do is select one from the list, or you can hit the search button and search your area code. So for example, 401. Now a bunch of numbers in the 401 area code will pop up. You can select any of them, purchase them, and it'll cost you $2 per month. Once you have your number selected, you're going to hit save, and it's going to automatically bill you, $2 per month for that number. Once you have your number purchased, there's two ways to attach it to an AI voice agent. You can, one, click into it through the phone number dashboard, hit inbound call agent or outbound call agent, and simply just attach the agent by selecting it. The second way, and this is how I typically do it, I go into the agent itself and I hit publish in the top right, and I hit inbound phone number and I select the phone number. Once you attach the phone number using either method, your agent is live, and anytime anybody calls that number, your AI voice agent will pick up. The version name and the description within the publish is just for your own sake. If you want to organize things a little better, you can give your AI voice agent a version name as well as a description. Now I'm going to give this AI voice agent a call just so you guys can hear its voice, even though I didn't tailor it for any specific business.
Thank you for calling Business. This is Kayla. How can I help you?
Hi Kayla, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How can I assist you today?
I was wondering if I can book an appointment.
Absolutely, I can help you with that. What are you coming in for?
So if we were to continue down that flow, it would have went from purpose, why am I coming in, to name, to number, to specialist preference, to date and time. And it would have tried to book the appointment inside of the Google Calendar that I have attached to this function. However, that isn't the goal for this video. We were just going over Retell. If you want to know how to actually book appointments inside Google Calendar, I will leave a video where I made a connection from Retell to N8N to Google Calendar in the top right corner. In that video, I go through a simple build about how to actually make the connection between Retell and N8N so that I can book appointments in any calendar. If you want this entire agent, including the prompt, the settings, everything, I'm going to be downloading the entire build and uploading it within my school group. From there, you guys can upload it into your own Retell AI account, make the couple tweaks to tailor it for whatever business you're building for, test it a few times, and you should be good to go. The link to my school group will be the first in the description. In there, you get access to me 24/7, as well as all of my builds, templates, and guides that I use every day to run my AI business. If you want to book a demo with my company, SimpleShift, and have an AI voice agent built for your business today, it will be the second link in the description. If you found this video at all helpful, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching and good luck on your journey.